Well, I wanted to offer building blocks. I wanted to offer our our entry points to spirit and in what we do, and sharing that allow others to kind of help them find their way of doing it, and then engage in that exchange, aka doing some actual readings, doing some actual connections with people. So that is the idea overall of this particular live. So to whoever may have dropped in currently, you may have heard that little spiel, but that's what we're getting into today. This is the amazing Vaishu of the Desert Wolf Star. Be sure to check out her page. I'm going to go back in and drop some more tags for her page so that y'all can find her at the end of this live. But Vaishu, if you want to drop your link in the comments if you can, or anything like that, that is awesome. Hey, Trisha, welcome. And anybody who's popping in, please feel free to share out, share the love. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna have some fun. I'm feeling a lot of childlike energy with me right now. Actually, how are you feeling, Varsha?
Pretty much the same. Kind of chill energy. Kind of just
Yeah,
have fun.
you just had one. What?
Oh, I just said kind of chill and just have fun. Kind of see where this
Yes.
evening goes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It feels good. It feels like I was feeling nervous. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, and just have
I
fun.
don't know. Sometimes I get really serious with the lives and what have you, but
Uh huh.
once I sit down and settle into the energy and just allow it to flow, it becomes very casual, easygoing, like just really being in the
Hmm.
moment. And I think that is an important building block right off bat, is learning how to be present in the moment.
Oh yeah,
James,
staying
welcome.
here in time.
Shared, I appreciate that.
Thank you, James.
But yes, I think
Yeah.
that's an important building block right off the bat, is being present and in the moment. So
Hmm.
where I'm going to try to be quick with my sharing out right now, and so that I can be right back and be present in the moment with all the rest of you.
All right. Hi, Trisha. Nice to have you here.
Trisha, good to see you. Beautiful.
We're just
Okay.
sharing out, so just give us a few moments.
Yes, please let yourself rock and jam. We've got a little bit of just some shamanic rhythms going that everybody can kind of let their vibe rise to, let their vessels relax to.
I like it. It's in the background. I like that.
Yes. More. Share the group. Okay.
Trisha's so sweet. So she says she missed your face.
Aw, that's very sweet. Thank you, Trisha. I am live now, so I'm here. Yay. And if anybody has donated or is hoping to get a read with both of us tonight, you can feel free. We're doing donations of 25. You can feel free to drop a donation and just let us know that you've made that donation. I'll add you to the list, and we will definitely get into your energy and feel out what we can for y'all. So for everybody who's here, it's just so you know, the scrolling at the bottom of the screen, it is right below. It is showing um, the website, the PayPal link. So
And if you have any questions too that you'd like to ask us, feel free to do that as well.
yes, 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 yes.
James says, appreciate you both. Present moment's a gift. Yesterday was history. No
Mm.
fear of the past or future success. Yeah. Staying in present moment. Yeah.
Present moment is kind of like our um, safest and most powerful space, because in the present moment, typically, if we are not under like that instant of death or something like that, for the most part, granted, there's always present moment experiences that just suck. But if it's a moment that where we're standing, then we're in a good spot. We're in a safe spot, right? And then that's also the only space that we can ever take any true action from. That's also the only space we can actually create something. I mean, we can think about the future and what we want to have, but what are we doing right here, right now? And so that is so spot on.
And yeah, it's like I think a lot of us have trouble staying in present time, myself included, because we're all just so worried about, spiritual advancement or what's going to happen next or what's going to happen with our jobs or like pretty much everything, whether it's the 3D world or the 5D world. I think pretty much we're always concerned either in the future or we're in the past where we're just like, oh, I'm still resolving this issue or this relationship or some kind of karma. So I think myself included, we all have trouble staying in present time more often than not.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the struggle of life, right? Is like learning that and then learning how to be that, how to enact that. I mean, we're all just having these moment to moment, like I'm not always so aware or I'm not like always walking around in that kind of state. And it's just moment to moment experiences and how mindful we can be, I think. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely a thing. But that reminds me of something that one of my mentors taught me when I was doing a lot of mindfulness retreats. Um, and I learned that what you're describing to me actually caused the sensation of anxiety.
Mhm.
and and what I was taught was that, and I think this might be a quote out there or something like that as well, but it was a Zen teacher who was telling me this, and they were saying when you anxiety comes from us projecting into our fears into the future, projecting ourselves and our fears into the future, and that what if, how is this going to happen, I can't see it, being in the future with the fears. And depression comes from projecting ourselves backwards into the past, the regrets, the lamenting, the sorrow, the I wish I was still that back then kind of aspect. And this sense of anxiety being us projecting forward, depression being us projected backward in
Mhm.
ways that doesn't really serve us. But if we can really kind of hook into being as present as we can moment to moment, we reduce and lessen both of those.
That's true. I think it's just, yeah, it is anxiety, and it does. Excuse me, depression and anxiety is a big part of it myself. I face that because it's hard. It's hard. I get it. So it's always like, especially when so much is going on and the energy's going on, and what's going on, and who do you listen to? And there's so many questions everyone has, and there's so many different realities that we're facing. So it's understandable that it's a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, ideally, play stay in center would be good.
Ideally, absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you listen to? Since you just posed that question, you hear this all the time, and people are all in. But like, where are you finding your inspiration, and as far as your motivation to kind of dive into doing this type of work?
So for me personally, it's kind of been like a rapid, I want to almost say fast track that they put me on, where about a year ago, none of this was real. Like if you had told me angels existed and if you had told me there's spirit guides, I probably would have like blocked you and been like, I'd have been like, all right, you smoking some good stuff. But like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
would have been like, not believed any of that. But now it's been such a fast track, so sometimes I have trouble believing what I'm seeing, hearing, knowing, I guess. And I'm always either have been worried about what's going to happen, where am I going to go. I used to compare myself to other healers, and I'd be like, I want to do this, I want to do that, this is so cool. Hi Jared, thank you for coming on. um,
Hi, Trisha. Nice to have you.
and I'd
Sorry.
always be, you're good. And I'd always be concerned about that. I'd always be like, oh, should I be like this? Should I be like that healer? I try to get as many healing
For
modalities in as
sharing up.
possible. I tried to go ahead and, do that. And then they'd be like, heal, heal. You know how everyone's trying to say, heal, you have to heal this, you have to heal that. And I feel like
Yes.
people try to project what they think is shadow work and what they think is healing. And most of these people who are forcing other people to do shadow work or healing, some of them have not done it themselves. When you see their triggers and their reactions and how they perceive shadow work to be, there's different
Absolutely.
degrees to it. So I feel like when they're talking about it and they're forcing it, they sometimes forget that everyone has their own path and they might not be ready. And you cannot force someone to go outside their soul contract, or you can't force them to heal on a fast track, because if you make someone heal before they're ready, you force their body into some state of shock,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
they collapse. Their boundaries, everything kind of collapses, which is not healthy again. So taking it slow is good, and that's how I had to learn that the hard way. The very long story of what I'm telling you is
Yes.
I've done that several times. I fell down like over and over and over again until I realized I need to take it slow.
Yeah. We all have to move at our own pace, and I think a lot of us get caught up in this idea. Well, it also ties into the whole idea that we're the ones doing the healing, and we really aren't. We're more like facilitators in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? But it's like that is innate. Like that's gonna happen with or without us in a lot of ways. You know, we may assist, facilitate, and expedite, and all these other things. But at the same time, that process unfolds regardless. So if we weren't as tied into that, then maybe we would have a little bit less of that experience. I feel like. Um, Jared, what's up? Hey, Ali, welcome. If you can, please feel free to share out. Um, but yeah, that I get that 100%.
And I think like before I wasn't really on board with everything, but I think the more that I go through my experiences and the more shadow work I do and the more I try to come in tune with what I'm going through instead of
Mhm.
just putting it to the side and saying, nah, I don't want to deal like this. The more people I come across, the sessions I have or the clients I have or the people I'm helping, usually what they're going through, I have an easy answer, not easy, more relatable answer to it because I've gone through it and I've done it myself. So there's a reason why we're going through this, the pain, the
Yes.
suffering, whatever it is. So it,
Look at you. You got that real world experience. You're just like, yeah. You gonna turn into mama bear for people. I
I
can.
guess.
I. That's one of the funny things about like being an empath or being in this path. There's just this path where people will just turn to you and just like it becomes like a thing where your vibe feeds others. People will feed off of that in a lot of ways and really learning about that. So
And you learn about boundaries with that too, because you can't always help people because it drains you.
mm,
Because
boundaries. And
boundaries.
that is another beautiful building block. I feel like that is like such a that's one of the first things that I really started working with and learning about when I started working with energy and just really understanding myself as an empath and just the need for those boundaries, both like emotionally and energetically, but even physically at times, depending on with whom, right? Um, so yeah, the importance of boundaries and really the more I've worked with it and fine-tuned that, the more I feel it like not only creating this space for you to self, but that space allowing you to really grow into your best potential, like to actually really get to know thyself. Boundaries are so important to kind of creating that space for that learning. Hey, Pamela.
Hi, Pamela. Thank you. Yeah, it is.
Thank
As you learn that the hard way too. I feel like, well, maybe it's just for me. I had to learn that the hard way. Whether it's like because when you start up, right, I believe when you first, in my experience, when I started healing, I wanted to heal everyone. I was like, I'll heal you. I'll heal you. I can do this. And then I
you.
was like, I started realizing it drains you, and it's hard to help other people if you can't help yourself. So
Mhm.
that's when I learned to kind of pull back and not always give 100%, and then realize why am I tired? Why haven't I taken like it's taken 2 days of me sleeping to realize what's happening. You know.
Mm. And that also ties into what you were saying earlier about not being able to really um, heal others or expedite others' paths, like rush them down their process, right? In the sense that when you start to get into all of that, like you're really wasting your energy because you can't save somebody who don't want to be saved. Like you can't, you can't actually, and you can't save somebody who's not ready to be saved.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes we got to go through these experiences so that we can learn, right? Sometimes you might just have that temperament that you have to get burned just so that you learn not to touch fire, right? But like everybody in the world could tell you not to do it, but it wasn't until you burned yourself that you learned that way, right? And so If everybody in the world told you don't do it and sheltered you until you were 30 years old, and then you walked into a burning building because you didn't know no better, it would have been better if you got burned when you was 5 and you learned that lesson, right?
See that not everyone's like that though. Not everyone is like, I want to learn the hard way. Like you can have like so some of those people, they're more like me, where I'm like that. I'm just like, you can tell 10 different people can tell me, no, don't do that. That's not the way to go about it. And I'll be like,
Right.
I don't feel like that's right. I'm gonna do it anyway. And there has been instances where that's really worked out in my favor because they'll be like, holy shit, she did something that no one else could do. And then
Yes.
there's instances that wasn't such a bright idea because it just wasn't. So I had to
Yes.
learn the hard way. So either way, good or bad, that's how I roll. So I just have to feel out for myself. Like, what can I do? What can I do? I don't listen to other people. And then some people are like that, like me. And then that's when I'm like, oh, you're hard headed like I am. Okay, let's go. What do you need? What do you
Right.
need?
Right. And I also feel like that's also part of it, right? Like that's part of this journey is like really learning the self and becoming authentic is that willingness to like explore and that willingness to have your own failures, regardless of what others are telling you, right? Like I can't say live your life and have your own experience and then turn around and say you're supposed to listen to me though. Like no. Live your life and have your own experience. And then we can engage and exchange in what your experience was like and what mine was like. But we can't connect if you haven't even if you're scared to actually have your failures and your ups and downs and all of that, right? So I
Yeah,
give that
and
100%.
yeah, especially since we have free will, right? Even though if we have soul contracts and even if we have so many other things put in place and they say this is for our highest good, we still have free will, whether we want to follow our soul path or whether we want to follow anything. So it's really like when someone comes to me and says, what should I do? I'm more like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go with this? So
Mm.
it's like kind of not telling them to do something or another. Like they'll come to so many people I see, like it's honestly, I don't understand this one part. They'll be like, well, tell me what to do. And I'm like, what do you want to do? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, so find out what you want to do and I'll tell you how to get there.
That is always a good start, right? Like if you can at least figure out that much, then you can get yourself pointed in a direction. Hi, Harmony, welcome. Thank
Hi,
you for joining us.
Harmony.
And
I know.
for anybody who has donated or shared out, please just let us know. I've got my cards here and some stones and stuff, so I'll pull a quick card for any of the sharers and share some love. And for the donators, we're gonna dive in deep, get into some energy work. But I'm enjoying this conversation. So right now we're just hanging out. um, but yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of value to really honoring each other's journeys, just like we would that whole golden rule: do unto others type of thing. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Mhm.
Honor others' journeys as you would have your journey be honored, kind of thing. Where yeah, I gotta allow you to walk down your path so that you will allow me to walk down mine. If either one of us are trying to tell the other we know better, nobody gets anywhere.
And thank you, Fiona, for sharing.
Nice.
But yes, that's true. And let us know if you've shared and you want a card or if you want a full reading. Put us in the comments, so we'll look at that while we're talking.
Yes.
But yes, it just depends, you know. It's and then the fact is, I feel what I've seen from my little experience. Given granted, I've only been in this like a year, but given my experience, I feel like some of us, even though we're human, so we tend to judge, we tend to have harsh opinions about certain things. We're human, so we catch
Hmm.
ourselves and we're like, oh shit, I judged someone. Oh shit, like I did this. Like and it's okay. Sometimes we're not perfect. We're human. We're half human, half divine. So it happens.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like catching yourself and going, okay, this person has a different healing modality, or this person does something differently, and I can either a work with them because I'm okay
Hmm.
with it, because they don't trigger me as much, or we can go, no, that person's too different. I can't work with them because this, and this. And I personally, I think everyone is so wonderfully different. You can try to mix stuff, because I mix stuff myself. I mix Reiki, I mix sacred geometry. I don't do anything
Absolutely.
of how people tell me what to do. So it's like I kind of like that. So I don't understand why we have to put ourselves in little boxes, whether it's like our humanistic nature or animalistic nature or spirituality. You shouldn't put it in a box. I feel like you should do what you want to
Yes.
do.
Well, absolutely. I so echo that sentiment. Like I really do understand the value of tradition. Like these pre-routed ways towards connecting with spirit. And like we're here now doing building blocks, which we're offering various ways towards connecting with spirit. And so I understand the value of having those traditional routes because it at least gets people on the road to seeking or asking questions or pondering. And it may not be for everybody. It certainly turned out that, the more traditional routes was not my route,
Hmm.
but picking up all these different what I call tools along the way towards your own unique, authentic expression, your own unique, authentic connection with source, with that oneness. It is unique and authentic to you. And so you should totally be taking what works for you and combining and mixing. I think that's the point when you really start to connect your own guidance, your own spirit guides, your own knowledge. It kicks in as far as yeah, you can mix. I can mix Reiki in with my breath work, and now I've got something else that's happening in the breath work, and now I've got all this other stuff growing, all these other modalities growing. So there really is no limit towards connecting with spirit. I think we're all on our own unique individual paths when we have to do what works for us individually. And then we can shine our light and share it, and those who will resonate or who it works for, great. But yeah, the only value is the value that we get out of it. I think we get lost when we start. It starts becoming this thing of like whether everybody else approves. Like that's tripping. That trips us up. That trips me up. Like, oh my God, I don't know if anybody else is gonna. They think I'm crazy, and then I'm like, nah. It doesn't matter if they think I'm crazy. This is working for me, right? Like your life is getting better. Yeah, my life's getting better. Like is stuff making sense? Yeah, stuff is making sense. Like yeah, all right. We're gonna keep rocking.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing too. Even if it is traditional, like big deal. Like whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, do what you want to do. I feel like so many people,
Absolutely.
because I've seen people myself where they're like they want to put cards out there, they want to do readings and healings themselves, but they're like a little afraid to do it. I guess because they're some little camera shy, which I understand. I had to do several videos lives myself, and I stuttered, and I sometimes still stutter, and I get a little anxious myself when I do lives even now. So
Mhm.
it's like I guess everyone has their own path to it, is what I'm saying, and it's not to really just got to be chill with it. And we all, like you said, connects with spirit, so that we all do that differently as well, considering that
Yeah.
we have different clairs. So some of us hear better, some of us feel better, some of us just know stuff. So it's just like, how are you really going to say compare someone's better hearing to someone's better knowing?
Right. Yeah. I'm just gonna pin this in the comments very briefly.
Hmm.
There we go. Okay, so somebody messaged me and asked me to pin the PayPal in the comments, so it is there. Feel free to if anybody wants to connect. But that actually brings me to another point. So I'm curious if like maybe you want to break down a little bit more about the things that you're into because one of the you gave me such a profound experience recently when we was chatting and kind of introduced me to rock, and that was a much bigger deal than the way it played out for us. Like,
Okay.
um, so if you don't mind me sharing, I'm just gonna. It was like we were chatting and we were talking about doing this live together, and then at the end of the live, she says, "Oh, and by the way, Ra says hi," or something like that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, weird, but makes sense." And ever since then, I've been connecting with Ra, the sun god, the Egyptian sun god. Um, basically the Odin or Zeus of his particular pantheon. And so I was blown away by that alone, by that incident. It wasn't even like I got a reading or whatever, but it was just such a natural thing for you, like having your connection. I would love to know more about what it is that you bring forth or how you work and connect and play with the energy or spirit, however you see it.
Hi, Jeremy. Thank you for joining us.
Jeremy, what's up, brother?
I think I have several clears. One of them, they keep coming. Different ones keep coming, but I have clear knowing. I can touch things. I have clear touch, and I can just there's different things. But so sometimes I just know things. Sometimes I hear things. So like when I'm talking to someone spiritual, most of the time, or not even when they're spiritual, their guys will just like come in like an ambush sometimes, and I'll just be like, you need to back off. And he's like, you can't do this, because my own guys will be ambushing me sometimes. Cancel that. But they'll come to me and they'll like just chill. Like if I'm sitting here like on my bed, they'll be like Ra, and they'll be like Sekhmet, and they'll be like, I have a lot of Egyptian like connections, and you do too. So
Uh-huh.
like they'll just be chilling around. They'll just be like, oh hi, and I'm like, oh hi Sekhmet, hi Ra, like hi Nefertari. I'll just be like, all right. They're like. They're like, or if someone doesn't hear a message, or they'll be like, tell him this, tell him that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he already knows. They're like, tell him anyway. And I'm like, oh. And I'll check in and I'll check in with my guys. I'm like, should I say this? And they're like, yeah, it's okay to say that. Or sometimes I'll be like, no, let them figure it out. Like, you're not supposed to interfere. Like, I'll usually check in with my guides. I'll be like, can I say this? Can I do this? Can I not do this? Or I'll check in with the person's higher self. I'll directly go to their higher self and be like, yo, you want me to tell you this? And they'll either be like, not now, or they'll be like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Wow.
And so if I check
Adventures in
in,
energy.
so I'll check in and they'll be like, cool. They'll give me a thumbs up, and I'll be like, okay. I'll be like, hey, and I'll like just gently put in a thing, be like, and see if they're interested, and if they are, I'll tell them more. If they're like, no, that's not a thing, and they're in denial about it, or they don't want to hear it, I'll just be like, oh, okay. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll just back off then. So I kind of test to see where they're at. Kind of sometimes even if they're asking me for advice and they're texting me and they're constantly leaving me voicemails and everything, and they'll be like, tell me this, tell me that, and sometimes I'll tell them, and they're still not ready to hear it. It'll like bounce off. So it's like the message will bounce right off. So it's just like, uh, so and then they'll be like, no, but tell me what I'm asking you. And I'm like, I am telling you. So at least I either have to figure out a different way to tell them,
Yes.
or just be
Well,
like, you're not getting it right now.
well, that definitely also goes right back to what we were saying about people on their journey not being ready, right? And sometimes people are just not ready, and like whether you give it to them or not, like whether you everything tells you no, don't give this to that person, they're not ready for that, or whether it's like, all right, I'm giving it to you, and they just can't hear it, they can't get it, it don't click. It's just like you just I don't know how else to lay it out there.
And yeah, sometimes they're just not ready to hear it, or sometimes they've been hearing it, but they have so much chaos going on in their own personal life, right? They can have either their girlfriend or their boyfriend or their school or whatever they're doing, whether it's like their children, and they have a lot of stuff to take care of, so they're not always 24/7 attuned to listening to every single guide that pops up, because most of us have so many guides, and they all come and go depending on what stage of the journey that we're in. I'm channeling. So when we're going through these different paths and going through these different stages, it's hard to really doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter who their names is. They say most of the time, I like to know what my guides' names are because I can call them on name. But sometimes you have those trickster guides. Sometimes you don't have those guides of light. You have those neutral guides. And I don't like to mess with all that because I'm just like, no, I'm not when I'm giving people messages. I want it to be from some guide of the light, and I want it to be someone that I know. I'm not going to give you a shady, half-known message. So that's how I function.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
love that.
Pamela. Thank you, Jeremy. But yeah, I just that's how I roll with that. I'm just like kind of see where they're at. And
Yeah.
even with healings, though, sometimes like their higher self or their guides will be like, help him, help me. And I'll be like, sometimes I'll be like, okay. And I work in the hospital, so sometimes it's very taxing on me personally. Is when I'm going through stuff and I'll see a lot of people in the hospital. I'm not gonna talk about that. Okay, that's fine.
You're good though. Just so you know, you're good. You can share whatever you want to talk about. But
They're like,
but I
don't let them see that. So I was like, okay, fine.
just leave that out. Leave it out. Leave it out. But no, I love that, and I totally get that. I've been talking about that a lot lately, as far as that discernment that a lot of like teachers, channelers, the time people are taking, not even time per se, but just the effort people are making to discern where the messages are coming from, to have that mindfulness, and like as far as, is this what I want to offer, and is this what I want to share? Because when you're connecting, it can be such a like all encompassing thing, and it can be such a really experience that if you're not really paying attention, all of a sudden you can just be attaching to all sorts of different polarities, so to speak, right? You can be And not to say anything is necessarily like a bad thing, but not all things serve all purposes, and not all things serve the highest good, and not all things serve your growth, you know. And sometimes some things might be coming forth that are just like, there's no like real relevance, so there's no real this doesn't help in any kind of real practical way in our reality. So I'm often always on that tightrope of like I just spent, I don't know, I sat on this video that I had was just like 45 minutes long of just like I was channeling, but then there's parts of it where I was in my own ego and I was bitching, and the messages was muddled, and I was like, I know there's truth here. And so I sat on the thing in my do I want to just toss it and just say and just go back to, you know, my next video and go on or whatever. And I just spent like the last like 2 days just editing it just to get it down to the actual truth, because I know there were different vibrations in there that even when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh no, that wasn't me with my highest self. That was me with my own personal gripe, or that was my own ego in that moment, right? Like,
Yeah, but then it's also like different guides going through you, right? When we're opening channels, so
yes,
it's like sometimes it's like one guide steps in, another guide steps in, another guide steps in. So it's like,
that's the discernment, right? To actually be able to recognize that, though, because sometimes I've recognized that sometimes it's not always a guide, or it's not always like sometimes it's a deceased relative or a deceased attachment, and it might not always be for that person's good, right? Like, you know, it might be, you know, some advice that's just like some piece of insight that's just like, is this really towards serving their highest good, or is this, where's this coming from, like and so it's just always just being mindful when we're kind of going through that energy, because for it really is like a stream for me. I think David, I don't know his last name, but he has the stream of David, and he started talking about like his connection being very much like a stream. I seen like one of his, like he got interviewed, I think, by C. Megan Michael or somebody, and that idea connected with me. That for me, because I feel like I'm just walking around in the sea of energy 24/7. And all I'm doing all day, every day is just discerning my way through like just various energies, various levels of energy. But it's very much like a stream when I'm connected and channeling, and it's just this stream of energy, of insight, of consciousness. But it's so many varying places that that stream comes from and flows to, that, you know, it's always like, okay, let me
yeah, I get what you're
let me
saying.
check that. Let me check where that's from.
I've seen that. I've seen people channel like certain healers. I don't personally like channeling when deceased relatives come by, because sometimes they're not happy. Sometimes they have different
Hmm.
messages. I personally don't do deceased relatives. But
Hmm.
um, so I've seen people channel certain healers. Sometimes, if they're not familiar with certain kinds of shadow work, depths of shadow work, they can sometimes perceive their own shadow to be a darker entity or a darker thing, and sometimes it's really just their own shadow, which I've seen that as well. And they'll think it's like other things attacking them, and it's really funny, but it's really not. It's just their own shadow,
Well,
and
we have these like fears of the unknown, and then we have a shadow, which is like where we shove all the parts we don't want to know about ourselves, and so it's like this unknown coming from us that is just like the scariest thing in the world.
and our shadow is scary. So it's granted you're warranted to be scared about it, but you have to, I feel, differentiate when it's your own shadow, and you can be like, "Yo, shadow, get in the back. I'm not dealing with you right now. I'm kind of working right now." So you can tell your ego and your shadow, "Yo, chill in the back right now. I'm kind of busy."
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like some of them are not familiar with that it's their own shadow, whether it's their ego, whether they're channeling their higher self. So it's like uh, it's a little difficult when they're, because if they go off center themselves, like I try to sit in silence for about 5-10 minutes before I live. So I'm trying to be as centered as I can be, as grounded as I can be. So I'm not getting mixed messages, because I've done that before and I don't like that. I like giving people the most accurate message I can do. So
I love that. I love that.
so I like to sit in center. so they get the most accurate or best or whatever message they need to receive for the highest good at their time. When you don't do that and you're in that chaotic mind space where you're like, I just have to go from appointment to appointment to appointment and just knock this out like it's a business deal, as opposed to actually thinking about that person. Because there's different things go into it, right? You have to be like,
Yeah.
you have to give enough of a shit to be like, I care about that person. I need them to get what message they need to get. Not, this is just another appointment. This is just another business transaction. You don't. This is not just you go boom, boom, boom. It's not like that, because you're
Yeah.
dealing with people's lives. You're dealing with their emotions, their own healing. So if you try to say something in a very harsh way to them and they're very sensitive, you're only reaffirming that there's no one out there to help them. And sometimes people they need their hand held more than other people. It's just that healer might not be good for you. You need someone that can hold your hand and have that patience, or more feminine, or whatever it is that you need, because everyone's different.
Right. And
I
then
don't know
there
how
are
to.
those who might need somebody rougher, and they need to go and find that person who's rougher,
Mhm.
or it's up to the reader, the worker, us to discern that, and also be able to kind of match that frequency. As far as, like, I don't know, for me, I've gotten to the place where I used to try to always want to sugarcoat things and always want to kind of just be on the nicer side of things. And I've gotten to the place where, as I've become more authentic in my voice, more authentic in my truth, and in resonance with the energy, and actually recognizing what's happening in this moment, feeling it out, and seeing, okay, this person may be a little bit more resistant, and so they might need a little bit more of my own fire energy to break through that. They might need a little bit more of my own, all right, I got to get a little bit rough, or I have to speak more plainly. I can't be all flowery and heavenly and all high vibe. I got to come down here and be like, look, this is what it is, right? and and without that ability to discern and kind of match that vibration, I'm not to say I wouldn't be giving my best service, but as I grow into that ability to even do that, that is me giving my best to actually see whether, okay, this person's in a hurt state, and I can feel they need that. They need to know about the compassion and love that's coming through, as opposed to they need to know that, oh, you need to, I don't know, you need to just get over this person. Like right now, their heart, what I feel is a broken heart. They need, like, that heart to be cocooned with love. They don't need a kick in the ass. So
That's true. I've had that too. I've had to have certain people when I've had after like 3 or 4 times of talking to them and they're still not getting the message. I had to like sit them down and be like, yo, so this is what's going on. I've said this and you're not getting it. I have to give it to them in a different way. Sometimes my guides will be like, put it on them, like
yeah.
harsh. And I'll be like, put it on them. They'll be like, oh, this is what I needed to know. And I'm like, yes.
Mm-mm.
So that's what I had to do sometimes. And it just is what it is, I suppose. Just they just receive different things in different ways. So
Thanks for joining, James. Appreciate you. If anybody's here who has shared out, let us know. I do have my cards on deck. I will pull for something for you because I know we've been chatting. I want people to also be able to experience some love.
I feel people have some. I can hear their questions in the background. You guys feel free to ask any questions that you have. You don't
Please.
have to just
Yes.
just put them in the comments. We're more than happy to answer them. You don't have to worry about going back and forth. I can hear you. Just go ahead and ask.
Please. Thank you, Vaishu. Yes, this is a conversation, so we want y'all input as well. Um,
Mhm.
so what are some of the things that you got into when you first, and it's so funny because you even say that your journey was like about a year that you've really been on this kind of accelerated path, but I can see in your energy and it's just in this timeline and this stream behind you that you've kind of been through a lot in your path in general. So I'm curious, what kinds of things did you go through? Did you engage with as you kind of came into yourself with your own connection? Like for me, I initially got into Reiki, then I got into cards or divination tools, and then whatever. What were some of the things you got into? I know
Um,
you have the cards there, and cards are usually one of the first things people get into.
I think actually, so like I started waking up and I didn't know what was happening, and then I started like seeing things floating in my angels. I was seeing angels floating in my room. Then I started seeing Buddha floating around. Then I saw like Holy Spirit, and I was just like, okay. And then I saw Jesus. I was like, and then I
So
was like,
you,
I
yeah,
guess I'm like going crazy. And I started hearing voices, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to the loony bin,
so you
and
see energy as you, and then you started hearing it. So all your clairs were kicking in big time.
So then, like, I'd be like, that's it. They're going to send me to the loony bin. That's it. And I had no one who was spiritual. My parents were extremely religious and extremely very strict. So I was just like, who do I? So luckily, my guides they kept leading me on different things. So I'd be channeling. I had a diary. I'd keep writing. So randomly, out of nowhere, I had wrote 10 pages on Ra and Thoth and the Eye of Ra and then the Anubis, and I just started different pages. 10 pages later, I was like, where did this writing come from? And then I started Googling it. Then I started Googling. I was like, what did I just write? And then I'd see stuff, and I came across star seeds, and I Googled star seeds. And then I came across different Facebook groups, and I finally came across a spiritual group on Facebook, several spiritual groups. And I started watching people. I started watching different healers, and I was like, holy. And then I kind of was in denial for a little bit. I was like, this is crazy. This is not a thing. And I went back after a month or two, and I was like, maybe this is a thing. And I started, and then the healers that I would watch would be like, hey, I'd ask them questions. I'd go on their lives, and I'd be like, asking questions. Jeremy's like, that's literally the exact question I had. You have a different specific question. Ask that, Jeremy. But it's okay, you can ask. And
We're
but
here
yeah,
for it.
yeah. So yeah, I just go ahead and then I started. Then that person was like Reiki and this and that and everything, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me get attuned to some energy modality. So I got attuned to an energy modality. Got attuned to Reiki. Then I met a different bunch of healers. Then I went to Georgia. Then I met my mentor. Then I met another mentor. Then I got into cards, and I couldn't really read the cards back then, so I just like playing with the cards. But yeah, I got Reiki. Then I got my mentor. Then I had several boundaries classes with my mentor, Dr. Susan Rossi, and yeah, I just pretty much did that, and then slowly I became attuned to light language as well. So then I got that modality,
That's
and then I'd pull cards for myself every day. So I'd have Thoth sit with me. So I'd have Thoth sit with me, and I'd be like, "Can you explain how to read cards? Because I don't really get it." So Thoth would be like, "All right." He'd be like, "Bet, let's go." So I'd pull a card for myself in the morning, and then I'd pull a card for myself in the evening, or like 2 or 3 cards, and they'd sit down and be like, "Can you explain this to me? Because I don't really get it." And they'd tell me. They'd be like, "They'd tell me how to read the cards, or tell me what it means, or intuitively read the cards." And that's how I started learning. So I'd start doing that every day for like months or years, months. Yeah, I did that for months, and then that's how I started. I talked to them. I talked to so as shamanists, the shamans believe that everything is living, right? So I'd talk to plants, I'd talk to trees, and the trees would give me some advice. The cards sometimes would talk to me as well. My guides would talk to me. So it's pretty much just kind of asking help all the time was pretty much how I went about that. And obviously seeing healers and different healers, and then there were some healers that I did like, some that I didn't like. Some would tell me like, no, you're moving too fast, you don't know what you're talking about. Or I'd hear and see things and be like, that's not a thing, that's not real. So I stopped. Then I had to go through that hard process of being like, I just have to trust what I'm hearing and seeing, and not let someone else tell me what I'm seeing and seeing, and trust myself. And that was kind of painful and hard by itself, you know?
I think it's so funny that you come across people who are telling you that no, you're moving too fast, you don't know what you're talking about, because we're at a time of accelerated awakenings. We're at a time specifically where more people are coming in fully connected already. Like the generations being born at this time specifically, since like 2012, probably a little bit before that. But then even older generations are coming into their own awakening states much sooner, are going through their own seeker journeys much earlier. And so it seems very natural to me, especially amongst um various people that I've worked with, that I've seen. It seems like on scale, like on average, more of the youth is awakening faster and quicker than the older generations to me.
They are. You're right about that. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself the younger generation, but I'm 32. But the younger people, yeah, they're waking up nowadays, and these poor kids have their third eye. These babies have their third eyes blown wide open. They can see shit. They can hear shit. It's constantly stimulating. They have no slow ease, pain, grace. And from someone who had a crash course, it's very scary and painful. It's not fun. It's not like some people where they think, oh, this is so cool, they can do this, this, and this. It's not. I went for months without being able to sleep for certain nights because I saw things, and I had to figure out how to deal with it, because no one could tell me how to do stuff. So you really have to be careful what you're asking for, what you signed up for, whatever it is. But you have to do with gentle ease and grace, because it's not fun. It's it is what it is. I mean, you signed up for it, granted, but I mean, I would never say that you have to fast track it or there's a certain way to do anything because you have to learn the hard way or the easy way either way.
Plus, you're gonna come into your gifts when you come into your gifts. Like, there's no way like you can force that. So if you come into them at any point, then they're meant. You're meant to have to have them at that point. So they're for you to start learning and start getting used to and start trying to understand, or for you to learn how to shut down and run away from. But I mean, that is part of the experience that you are meant to have. Is like, oh, I just came into this ability and there's something here. How do I want to deal with that? Who am I in relation to that? Am I fear, like responding to that, or am I love and willing to be curious and explore and see what that connection is to me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there was something else to say.
But
Okay, so
with
yeah.
that though, I feel like with that though, I'm sorry for interrupting. With that though, you'd have to be in such a grounded state where you trust yourself enough and you love yourself enough to get the message that you're getting and not get easily swayed by other people and not get like because if you are getting everything and if you don't trust
Mhm.
yourself enough, it's not gonna mean shit. So
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because I just got a message about that earlier today, and I was like, okay, I got my next video I have to do, and since you brought up this topic, I'm just gonna say, but like, um, gaslighting your gifts. That's the literal title that came up. And Spirit was talking to me about so many people actually being disconnected from their gifts because they're being gaslit by society, by those around them, and ultimately by their own subconscious mind because they've absorbed so much of that programming already. So there's all that denial, all of that, all that stuff. We end up gaslighting ourselves or having these experiences where our our own instincts, our own intuitive nature that we are supposed to be cultivating, learning how to trust. We spend so much time in disbelief and resistance to that stuff where we're cutting ourselves off from actually experiencing our own abilities and how far it can grow and actually developing that trust for self. We spend so much time invalidating ourselves that we don't know what it's like to be validated.
I mean I thank you, Pamela. Hi, good afternoon, Ada. Thank you for joining us. No, so as someone who has done that themselves, I have guests. I have challenged my own gifts and stuff like that, and it's partially because I had to get over my own childhood experiences
Mhm.
with parental figures or just family, relatives, friends, toxic relationships that I've been in. So it's like to realize that there was a pattern and break it to the core
Mhm.
belief. I had to go
Mhm.
attack it at the core to break that, to go realize that I can listen to myself. So the amount of shadow work that I had to do was deep,
Deep,
deep shadow work.
deep, deep,
So
deep.
this is what this has been going on for what 30 plus years. So it took me I had to sit down and go and sit down and be like, why? And then I had realized it went down to my childhood, went down to most of my adult life. So it's like
Absolutely.
breaking those and realizing those are there is a little more difficult for some.
Absolutely. And that shadow work can be a reoccurring thing. Like those themes can
Yeah,
come back, and then you find yourself like, I know I've dealt with this before, but here we are again, and I'm feeling this trigger or this whatever, and you're doing more processing. So it's like a continual thing. Now I
yeah, I
remember
agree.
my original question. So I was gonna ask because when you were sharing your story, it was like something that sparked a note for me. Um,
Hmm.
with your acceleration, you came to give so fast. Your clear seems to have blown wide open. Um,
Cancel
were
that.
you? Yes. But your clears, you really were coming into your clears,
Hmm.
and so at that point, were you already talking and communing with spirit, or was these just like experiences that came without any real, like with your own, just kind of, I'm trying to understand it, but I'm not getting that insight. Oh,
So I didn't know who I was talking to initially, and I thought first it was Buddha, and then I didn't know it was spirit, so I'd call, and then eventually I used to call it Spirit Mom. I still call her Mom actually.
Mm.
She's like, tell him. Okay, well, so I'd just be like, oh, mom, and then I'd see Buddha floating around. I'd be like, cool, and then be talking to Michael, and then like I just called mom, her mom, and then I was like, she'd come talk to me, and she'd tell me stuff, and she's like, it's gonna change, it's not gonna be very bad anymore, because I was abused as a child. I was mentally and physically abused for years, so like I was literally
That's horrible,
so I
yeah.
went through that. Yeah. So physically, like thrown against stuff and all kinds of stuff. So I was mentally, physically, emotionally abused for like 30 plus years. So like she was like, we're gonna take you out of this now. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be changing. I'm like, I don't know who you are, lady, but this is cool. And then like and then she was like, Holy Spirit. And then she gave me several clues. I'm like, I can't be talking to the Holy Spirit. And then I was like, and then I was like, holy shit, like no, cancel. I was like, oh, it is the Holy Spirit. And then I was like, oh, it's Jesus. And then I started talking to different people. And I was like, I'm really talking to people and there's angels? Like really? For real? And that's how it happened. They just started talking to me. I didn't have anyone again to talk to then, because none of my friends, every one of my friends were all 3D. So I had no one to speak to. I felt really alone besides my tree friends and my spirit guides. And then until I came across several months later, that's why I used to obsessively write stuff down and obsessively look for one small little like thread of information, and I was on this like massive hunt where I'd go like find out like hours on Google and try to find out something, like have something mean something. So I didn't think I was crazy. And after doing that for months, I finally came across the Facebook pages, like I said, and I finally met people who kind of were like me, and I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. So yeah.
No, you're definitely not crazy. But it's great that you was able to find that space to get that validation for yourself. Because I think a lot of us will. There's a lot of people who actually default to thinking they're crazy and just shut it all down. Jeremy asks,
Jeremy, yeah. How do y'all gifts affect your relationships? Do y'all have to be with someone else gifted at this point? So yeah, of course you have that question, Jeremy. Who do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
um, yeah, I will get into it, sure. So for me, my coming into, I've always been a seeker, and I've always been a bit on this path of curiosity with regards to spirit, with regards to more, with regards to just kind of being my best self, like whether it's like self development or whatever. I've always just kind of been on that path. Um, and so I'm really not attracted to anybody who's not like open. I don't necessarily feel like the person I'm with needs to be this or that, but I do appreciate a level of openness. Obviously, a closed-minded nature is not going to work with somebody like me who's willing to explore the far reaches of reality. So with that, you want to hopefully be with somebody who's open and kind of in that resonance or frequency with you. Now, to the extent of like my gifts specifically and connecting with spirit and this and that, um the more your partner can relate with you, I think that's always great. But I don't think it's so mandatory from to the extent that like you want complementary, but you don't necessarily need the same, right? You don't necessarily like if both of y'all are trying to be and do the exact same thing as each other and be each other's like that's not even a mirror reflection. You're not even like you're not even like opposite polarities. You're more like just kind of mimicking each other or something. But things can get stale, things can get boring. It's okay to have differences is the point. um so I think more of just having that open nature and somebody who's willing to explore, who's willing to allow you to explore. You need to have somebody to have a space, even that space is within your own body temple, because sometimes that's where it is. It's just you can only get that acceptance within your own heart space, but really you need to have that space where you feel safe to cultivate all of this. And if you're feeling like you're being judged by your partner, or they're completely against that, or even if they were open at one point and they completely disagree, but now they're all like expecting you to be different or be contrary to yourself, especially if this is your authentic self, this is who you are, um, then that leaves little room for negotiations. So that's how I would. That's how I break it down. Differences okay, but openness needed.
See, that's like an important point. So like with my personal experience, so I have dated certain people, and I have someone who, you know, wants to start a relationship. It thing is with the vibration. Hi, Steph. Thank you for coming
Steph,
on. I know
hey
you said you were
Steph,
busy today. Thank you.
beautiful.
As far as my perception or understanding goes from the people I've talked to, I've had people tell me that it doesn't matter. It depends where you're willing to go with it, whether you can have someone who's willing to go with you and try to understand. But it's like a little tug of war, because no matter how open they try to be with you, they might not understand exactly what you do, or they might not get what you're saying, or they might just be like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. And it's a struggle. It's a little bit of a struggle, because every time if I want to go heal people, if I want to go do stuff, if I tell them I'm a presence healer, they don't those words mean nothing to them. It's a bunch of hocus pocus to them.
Mm,
And they might try to make invalidate my words, or um do y'all still have time for a read? I like my husband to receive a message. Yes, we do.
yes, Steph. Yeah, yeah, Steph. We do.
Thank
We'll get into that in just a moment.
you. But yeah, I've had a friend that I've talked to that she told me that it doesn't really matter about all that. She said that her husband would say transcend the bullshit. So I mean,
Mhm.
that was really good advice. So I did have that, but then I had other people also tell me that you're a certain vibration. When you come to a certain vibration as a healer, that you can fry people who
Mhm.
aren't ready to make those shifts, or people who aren't making those changes that needed to be made. You can fry your own vibration. If it's such a big gap between your vibration and theirs, just by trying to be next to them, you'll fry them, because they can't keep up. So either you'll have to lower your
Well,
vibration, or they're going to have to rise up to meet you. And how are they going to rise up to meet you if you're at such a huge difference, And then are
right.
you willing to lower your own vibration to meet them? So it's
Yeah,
really, what are you
absolutely.
willing to do, is, I guess, would be the point.
Yeah.
I
Well, I think
personally am realizing. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say. I think that brings me back to the point about what I was saying about the resonance, right? You got to be kind of somewhere in the same vicinity of each other, right? But yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying. So pretty much, yeah, pretty much what you were saying. Where it depends what you're willing to put up with, or how much you like the person, or what you're willing to give in that relationship or space or whatever it is. So
I think you brought something up that also I just kind of want to piggyback up on, and that really it just has to do with just this idea of uh that sense of understanding that you would want your partner to have, right? And I think especially when it comes down to how strongly you feel, how much this is your authentic self, how much this may fall into your purpose, um, and how much this actually is like a passion for you, like as far as just how you express or live life, and the level of willingness that they're willing to really accept you
right, you can't
when
try to
they're really
control. Yeah,
right, especially if they're not in that same place, and acceptance can look like various ways for different people, right? Acceptance can be, do you, create the space? Do you allow me to have the space that I need to do what the work I need to do? Or are you understanding of what I'm talking about, or the fact that I want to talk about this here and now? Are you willing to kind of listen and engage, or even just allow me to vent if because I'm in that woo woo stuff, you don't know, like all of these things is really like, um, these can be really sticking points, but
hmm,
the idea of vicinity, if they can be close to your vicinity and with regards to your own polarization, your own belief systems, they can offer you that like allowance and acceptance of who you are and your truth. That goes a long way to making a relationship easier. But
yeah,
when you're not allowed to be who you truly are, that's always gonna mess up any relationship. And that's what it really comes down to, I guess, what I'm saying. All my pretty words and flowery dancing around.
Yeah, no, you have to let you be yourself, and like different things again, like the humanistic side too.
Mhm.
Not being able to be controlled, but some people just it depends. It depends what you're willing to put in. But yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree with you. Hi, Phyllis. Oh, thank you
Beautiful.
for donating stuff. My husband's name is Nate.
Absolutely.
Ada, I agree with Vaishu. It's a big difference. And Jeremy says, thanks. Y'all always wanted to know your thoughts on that. Okay.
Phyllis, thank you for joining. Okay, so Steph, let's get into Steph's reading. Let's work on Nate.
Nate.
Nate. So
He's
I
going
already
through some things. He's hearing a message from other readers would probably help him. Okay.
sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm already feeling connected just through the dialogue that we've been having.
Mhm.
So so I know I'm probably gonna end up channeling. But I am gonna pull a card, a shamanic oracle card for Renee because I did have my oracle cards in hand and they keep drawing my eye. Take a moment, clear my energy. Vaishu, if you feel like you have anything, feel free to step forward.
Mhm. So it looks. Hi, Nate. First of all, hi. It's very nice to meet you. And it looks like he has a path ahead of him, and he has choices. You have two choices to make. Are you willing to take the next step? It's like you're facing a lot of your own, I believe, inner demons or like some kind of shadow work that you're doing, and you're doing a lot of. It looks like you're making huge leaps into that, but you have an important decision you have to make, and the limitations that other people are telling you, you already know the answer to this. You already know deep down inside what the answer is. It's just like you're afraid to make that decision or make that leap because of the fear that's around either of the options, I suppose. Like you have that what if, like how all of us have that what if it doesn't fall through, what if it doesn't work, or what. But then, Nate, if you switch it the other way around and say, what if it does work? Or I know it's going to work. I mean, you've made so many things work so much, and you've made things so work so far, and it's always everything is a synergistic effect, right? You're not alone. You have a lot of you feel like you have a lot of responsibility and a lot of burdens on you, but you have to realize you're not alone. Everyone's in different stages of their path, but what is important is the people that you have around you. What are the people that you have around you, the people that love you and support you, and that is more important than anything else. And what does your heart want to do? Doesn't matter what I say, what 10,000 other people say, but what does your heart want to do, dude? Like, I know that you already have like a certain idea on what you do, and I know everyone feels a little bit of fear, making certain decisions. They are a little bit hard, but your heart's already like, I see you like 75% on one side of something, and obviously you can still go either way, but if your heart's in it, you're going to succeed. You have the love, you have the support, you have the knowledge, you have the skills. Like you are not, there's no one that is lesser or greater than another person. We're all pretty much on different levels of our path, but it depends on what we choose to go with and what we choose to do, and what utilities we choose to use um, with our skills and our talents. You can, one person like her, they're talking about me, like her can go from 0 to 6 months where someone else would take maybe like a year or two. How much do you want it? How much effort are you willing to put in? Not that you haven't been putting the effort or the work, you have, but nothing is impossible. It's a little bit hard now, but you can always transcend the bullshit, right? That's your motto. So it's okay. Just you have this. I'm gonna do. Is it okay if I do a little healing on Nate?
Yes, sure thing. I'm gonna tag in, and just piggyback right off of your message, Vaishu, because I was getting a lot of similar energy. So Nate, just
If it's
picking up
okay,
where.
Steph, I'm gonna work on his solar, lots of solar stuff and some sacral as well, okay? And some crown. Go ahead.
Beautiful. So Nate, I'm just gonna tackle on what I was getting. It kind of feels like it picks up where Vaishu left off in her messages. Um, but initially what I started to feel when I tapped into your energy was this sense of a cloud, dark cloud coming overhead. And it feels very much like foreboding times. And what I was getting is that there's something going on. Uh, this is revolving a little bit around your sense of perception or perspective on things, on the incoming changes and possible influxes in your life. There's a sense of foreboding, maybe, things may be changing, you may be looking at options. And so this is where it kind of ties in with what a lot of Vaishu was saying, but feels like there may be options and you may be looking ahead to the future at different possibilities. But these possibilities may not necessarily feel like the best things to you. Like it just kind of feels like maybe there's something missing, maybe you're losing something, maybe you're going to have to be letting go of things, who knows. But there's this sense of foreboding against the impending change. The impending change feels like it's inevitable, though, so you feels like that change is coming and you're going to have to deal with it. But there's this shadow or clouds above head that's just like you're kind of lamenting that change that's coming. Um, and what the guys were talking about was really your sense of perception and the way you're looking at things, and really shifting around the way you are perceiving how these changes, these impending changes, may in fact impact you, your family, impact your life. Um, and shifting that to understanding that it does not have to be necessarily as bad as things may seem, or uh, these particular possibilities are not the only options on the table. Whether or not you're willing to look at other resources and other options, or whatever the thing may be, right? Where you could be looking ahead and seeing the possibility between multiple job positions and saying, yeah, those sound great, but they're gonna work me to the bone, a lot of hours. I'm gonna be stressed, fatigued, tired. I know I'm not gonna want to deal with that, but that money is gonna be great, and we're gonna need it for the family or whatever, right? And so you're looking at these jobs and you're thinking, I gotta have to make a move. I gotta pick one. I'm not really into either one of them. Meanwhile, there's a third opportunity on the table that maybe is significantly less, but it might feel better. It's might, when you think about that, it's like, man, but it would really be cool to kind of get in and work with these people and maybe try to experiment and learn about this. And there's room to grow, and there's possibility to earn more later down, that kind of thing. But because you're like right now just seeing these two main options, right? We're looking at the finances or whatever, but the jobs may not feel right. This third option sitting away to the side, right? And so you're not necessarily seeing that as a possibility for you. And so when you look ahead, it's just gray skies. Like, I don't really want to do this. I gotta do something. But if you shift that perception and think, oh, maybe this third opportunity over here might, all of a sudden those gray skies start to open up. The possibilities start to open up. This is about shifting your perspective away from the negative what ifs and how things may go wrong or may not work out, and shifting into tuning into the positive possibilities and options ahead. And so I had pulled a card, and okay, and the card is sacrifice. And it's funny because it is sacrifice and it is inverted. And she's talking to me about this feeling like we're gonna have to sacrifice some things, and this feeling like, oh, this loss, I'm losing out. Sometimes when we feel we have to sacrifice, it feels like losing out on something. But really, when we can shift that perspective, we may be gaining so much more. So this message is all about kind of being able to shift the perspective so that you can recognize the changes coming in do not have to be negative, and you actually have a lot of power to influence them in a positive direction. Right. And so while Vaishu was sharing her message, I did go in and tune in. Your guides guided me to just kind of work on the mind space and the heart space, and just opening those up. You want to really allow the mental, emotional connection to really help inform you with your decision making process as you move forward. This is about connecting the logical mind, the resources, all of that, the masculine, right, the male, and the female, the emotional realm, and really feeling, and do I want this? Does this feel good? Does it feel playful? Is it feel in the flow? Or is it you're just in the masculine mind, and just, when you can blend the two and harmonize the mind and the emotion, the mind and the heart, your decision making process is going to be a lot easier, because you're going to start to discern which potential changes and opportunities are going to serve you best.
So Nate, I noticed like you had a very active crown chakra, and it seems like there's certain psychic skills or talents or gifts that you're getting that you're like, it's like they're showing me, because we swept away a bunch of old previous thought patterns, that we kind of swept them away and gave you in space to give you new thought patterns and new formulating stuff. Because we had the death card here, so it's pretty much I don't know if you felt it, but I just like did a huge sweep on your aura, kind of like removed all the old thought processes that you had, kind of cleaned their aura, because you had it was like kind of stressed, and you was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And you're on the right path, dude. You're on the right path. Just trust yourself. You're getting into this. You're feeling like you're being like holed in or something, because it's like your feet. You're being pushed through like a pinhole needle, because you're going into a new prospect or a new path for yourself that you didn't go into, and it's very scary. Like a lot of us are going through right now, but you have so much wonderful help. You have like your friends, you have your wife, you have more support than you realize. And we did some there was some inner child stuff that I kind of calmed down. Your emotional body, I kind of did some water healing on, because that your inner child and your emotional body seemed like they needed some attention. Your solar plexus, they gave me some energy to put. I cleared out your solar, sacral, and root, put in the Star of David. I'm pretty sure Steph's gonna laugh about that, but we put in the Star of David into your solar, sacral. I cleared out, and we had to start spinning all of them, and root also. I kind of helped him ground him down a little bit, as well as myself, while I was talking about that. But yeah, I kind of filled you back up with light, and I put you some like gave you some like nice pink spheres and stuff, so you feel like nice, like tap. Oh, put that too. So hold the healing place. So yeah, kind of just did that. So you should feel kind of light now, and kind of happy, and kind of like not as weighed down with all your important decisions.
So between both the work that Vaishu and I have done, especially energetically, I'm feeling into your vessel currently, and it's feeling like it's been opened up a lot. I feel a lot of the shifts already. It even feels like, even with some of the messaging, this is starting to open up the eyes and the perspectives a little bit more to different possibilities. I'm being told to hydrate. And I know this is one of the most basic things that people give afterwards. And I would love to say, here's something more profound, but I'm being told you need to hydrate a lot to integrate these messages and to keep that energy flowing throughout your system right now. So get some water, man.
Oh, yay. Yeah. You said I felt it. On point. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure, Nate. Thank you for letting us work on you.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. Now I feel all this extra energy.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. Thanks for bringing Nate. Thanks for letting him hang out with us also.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. I understand the message. Thank you. I like how she put little quotes so we know too.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, if anybody else has dropped a donation or has shared out or has a question, drop it please in the comments and we will definitely respond. How are you feeling right now, Vaishu?
You're welcome.
You are so welcome, Steph.
Yeah, I'm like a little dehydrated, like a little thirsty after that. Obviously, because we're doing healings ourselves, but like keep on rocking it, baby. I will. I'll try. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, it was just like a lot of questions, I guess, and some of the questions, like even the question that Jeremy was asking, it was something I was going back and forth with myself as well, where I was just like, what do I do with this one situation? And he asked that question. I'm like, of course he asked this question. But yeah, it's just a lot of
they come up for a reason. I mean, if you're feeling it, especially now at this time, let's tap in. Let's tackle it all.
Why not? Just so figure out the answer while you're on alive.
Sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes, we're exploring building blocks, and I recently got this message. Well, not even recently. It's been with me for about, I don't know, at least half a year. But the value of simplicity, the this idea of how coming back to basics is sometimes the most powerful things that we can do. Coming back to like your roots, coming back to just the basic, the simplest truth that you know or that you may have experienced. And for me, when I think about that, and I think about what I call my conscious awakening, right? And so my conscious awakening was like when I had that actual conscious shift that I was awakening to spirit and to all of this extra stuff, right? And so when I underwent that experience, clearly I shifted big time. But
Yeah, Nate says, you guys are doing great, totally awesome. He says, good to have confirmation outside my wife. Yeah, I mean, I get that too, Nate, though. Like, honestly, like, sometimes I just, like, even though I hear it and I know it myself, and, like, I have people telling me, like, my best friend telling me, I'm just like, yeah, but what is, like, this other don't know thing completely? Like, so it kind of helps to hear it from outside somewhere. So I get that.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to have the validation, confirmation from multiple sources always makes it easier for us to kind of accept it, because again we spend a lot of time in validating ourselves, so it can get a little weird. We hear from the world like this is what it should be, and this is what we're pursuing these values and dreams, and this is the life you should strive for, and you're like
Well, it's also like I think we also discredit, like, if we have a close relatives or best friends, we kind of think that they have preconceived notions. Like, if I ask my best friend something, let's say hypothetically there's a guy, and I ask her something, she's gonna be like, no, not him, or yes, him. Like, she's gonna have preconceived notions. So sometimes if I want an unbiased answer, I'm gonna go to someone that doesn't know me at all and ask them what they do. Because so now they don't know me, they don't know my situation, they don't know the guy. They're gonna just give me whatever they feel without like emotional standpoint to it. So that's what I think he was looking for.
hmm yeah, that objectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's also very powerful, validating too, because it's like, yeah, like you said, just to kind of have somebody get on the same page, and they have no connection or tie to it, so it just kind of offers you a little bit more permission slip, which is Bashar. I think Bashar, Darryl Anka, I think they started saying that term, but I really enjoy it because a lot of life is us giving ourselves permission slips. Permission slips to do this, to do that, to believe this. To walk our own path. It's all just giving ourselves permission slips. And sometimes it's very hard to give yourself a permission slip to do certain things, especially with your values. So it's all a work in progress.
Yeah, and especially if you're like so emotionally tied into it yourself. Like sometimes when I'm certain in certain situations, and my emotions, excuse me, my throat's closing up. Ooh, I don't like talking about that.
Okay.
So it's like when my emotions are invested into it, I'm just like I just don't, because I'll know the answer, and my emotions are so initially tied into it. So it's just like I don't like no, I don't think that's right. No, I don't think so. Like so I kind of like edge out myself a little bit. So it's human. We're human.
We're human, and that's beautiful. We gotta accept that beauty's way. So you're speaking right along with the cards, um, and that's part of the process. Part of the path is really like discerning these things and learning how to work through them, and the shadow work and the this and that. But this is how we grow. This is how we do it. I don't know why.
I just keep randomly playing sounds in the background. Sometimes I'll be talking to someone, they'll listen, like I randomly play a song in the background. I'm like, okay, I get it. Is there a message, or do I have to like sit here and figure out what the message is while I'm talking to this person? So that happens too.
Music is a big one for me. I didn't even realize. I never even recognized, like, because you can receive messages through so many places, but like music is such a huge one. And it used to be like that whole when I synchronistically heard a song, but now it's just like they'll just drop songs in my head, like songs I haven't heard like since I was a kid, or songs I was never even into, like some song I might have heard in a commercial like when I was 5 that just resurfaces in my mind, and like it's stuck in my head. I go online, I do a search, and I'm like, oh, that was real, because so it's just psychic iTunes is what I've been calling it.
By the way, Zay, you have a new Andromedan guide came Lobi, and Vaishu's guide that stepped forward, her name is Hemina, also
I mean,
Andromedan. psychic iTunes. Lol. Thank you, Steph. Guides, no, we're not doing that. Come back. um, I'm pretty sure they do. That's like another thing. I have to like tell my guides sometimes, like when I have psychic friends, they'll be like, even like my other friends, they'll be like, hey, like, you know how I gave you that message? They'll just go and be like, hey, by the way, like you had this message or something. And I'm like, can you not do that to other people though? Like, so there's that too that goes on.
Yeah. That it happens a lot. It comes in so many various ways. That's funny. I'm gonna have to connect with my Andromedan guides. Then I want to fill in for Lobi.
Hemina. I feel someone right here. Yeah. As soon as she mentioned it, like I was just like
Lobi. Yeah, well, you said Lobi. I was feeling like, okay, there may be some energy here. That extra stuff. Your story brought me back to the whole Ra experience because when you dropped me that message about Ra being one of my guides, and it took me back because for like the last 2 years I've been on this sun gazing journey and I haven't known why. And it wasn't until after that I was like started connecting with Ra and all this information started coming in. Like, yeah, duh, that's why you've been into sun gazing for like the last 2 years. I'm like, oh, Ra, the sun god. Duh. So it's just funny how these messages will come through and it hits you like validation, confirmation.
yeah. Y'all know it hits me in a way. Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's how it's like. I love Ra. Yeah. Like I think I started talking to Ra for a while because I think initially my guides were like Thoth, it was Ra. We're still here, by the way. Okay. So yeah, so Thoth, Ra, and then the segment, and then so like I had like a lot of Egyptian connections, and Ra was with me for a while, and then that's why I even bought that book. There's a book. There's like 2-part book. It's like connecting with Ra or Ra channeling or something like the Ra collective. Something.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
whole book about that. And
one of
then
the
like
oldest channeling books, right? It's like right up there with Seth Materials.
So it's like I started reading that, and then I realized there was a part 2 to that, and then that's like, and there's so many spiritual books. I know Steph was talking about a bunch of really good books, but that was one of the ones I was reading. And I know someone that was mentioning. There's a book that someone when I started waking up, I started going to someone as a healer. He would mention this book, Spiritual Awakening by I forgot what it was. Joe Dispenza. It's like right here. What is it? Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. They're like, look to your right. I was like, wait, okay.
That's a classic. Becoming Supernatural. That's a classic. That's up there with like Gary Zukav's The Seat of the Soul and all these other classic works. That's really funny. Yeah, the Raw channeling works that's a big material that I got into when I first kind of got into the scene, and it is so dense with just heavy information. Like
and he's so serious too in my head. Like as a guide, he has like this deep voice, and he's like so serious when he's talking to you. So like, I guess in my head, like certain perceptions of different guides, like I just have that. I feel like Metatron, he says he's not that serious, but like I feel in my head, like whenever he talks to me, it's like very kind of serious.
Very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that goes into a lot of how they project to us, right, through our own kind of interpretations of them. So it very much like I feel that way about Merlin, and Merlin is one of my teachers. He's more of a teacher than a guy, but teacher's guy, they do same stuff. But Merlin is one of my teachers, and he always feels so stern and so serious to me, but he actually is a big prankster, and he's always like, oh, lighten up. He's always like very much with me, I need to lighten up. But then when I'm receiving information, it just feels like I'm in a lecture hall or something. And it's like, okay, this feels so like I gotta be studious right now.
Yeah. Steph says we should do a triple channel, all 3 of us. That would be totally awesome. That would be pretty cool. All 3 people.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. I like that. Yeah. I also love Merlin. Merlin, I haven't really communicated. I tranced him when my voice went wild.
Yeah.
I've only think I did the trance once. It scared the shit out of me, Steph, to be completely honest. I think I was like meditating, and then I let my higher self kind of come through, and then something else happened, and I was just like, holy shit. Like I felt my vibration, I got these chills, I just felt like a different, and I was like, and I started doing a bunch of stuff, and I think that's when Steph like texted me, and she was like, oh, by the way, this is like what it means to trans channel, and if you want to know she gave me this link to this. I forgot what their name was, but what trans channeling is, and like I'm fairly new to this, like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I was just like, oh, okay. And like there's like other things, like there's like other names that kind of just pop in and go, or like guides. They're like guides that pop in and go. And sometimes if I don't know who they are, I feel like the people I love. People like I love different guides and stuff, but people always say it doesn't matter what their name. The guides say that they're doesn't matter what their name are, but I think it's important to know their names. And also,
Hmm.
like for me, because sometimes I don't see the other way other people see, so I'll always be like, stand in the light. And then if they can stand in the light, I'll be like, cool, I'll talk to you. If they can't stand in the light and they kind of go away, I'm like, ha, you're shady guy. I'm not talking to you.
Stand in the light.
Because I love
I love
trans
that.
channeling. It's thrilling. Yeah, girl, I don't know how you do it. Yeah, I'm just throw. No. Like,
I like trans channeling also. I find myself doing less and less of it now, but like I got deep into doing a lot of different trans channeling, and a lot of my videos on my YouTube channel, when I was really starting it initially, was all just like me trying to get as deep as I can and getting to trans channeling states. Like I even have a trans channeling video with Merlin's at the beginning of that journey, and now it's just like, but it's like it's a beautiful thing because I'm getting to the point now where I can just connect and just receive the information. So requiring less effort to get as deep, so I can kind of still be a little bit half and whatever whatever. But it is thrilling. It is fun to feel what's coming in and whatever. I just when I, especially when I'm doing the videos, I'm like, I need to I need to know where I'm connecting, what energy is coming in, and we're gonna kind of flush through what we're talking about today. I can't just like go live and wing it with a trans channeling because then it's like I don't know when I'm pulling in and I start channeling something and it's like, oh, that wasn't for me to put out into the world. I'm sorry.
he likes your tattoos. Oh, thank you. I got a new one recently. I don't know if you can see that, but that's Kali. I got that recently. And he
That's
says y'all have a great
cool.
tandem energy. Hmm. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you. I like the Kali. That's cool.
Hmm. Thank you.
Um, I am so impressed that you were able to like really kind of. It seems like your journey was a bit of a wild bull that you kind of had to take by the horns and ride. And I'm really impressed in how you've been able to do that. So like, um, well, I won't say effortlessly, but you definitely come across with just ease and confidence and just like I could really feel that depth of connection. I know it may just be a facade on the surface, but I'm just really impressed at how you stepped into your gifts and your ability to connect. I think that is so cool. Like, so I know so many people who have had that opposite journey. Even me, might have started playing with cards and did and dabble, and to me, like channeling and declare, like that's a little bit more in the deep end. And it's like you was thrown in the deep end, and now you're kind of like swimming back out and like, oh, what's going on over there, and what's over here, and what's over here.
I honestly, it was because of like guidance, and it was because of some friends along the way, and it was because of my mentors that I'm like here right now. Because there was a lot of stages in my. Thank you. He said, "Colleen's badass." Thank you. I think
Absolutely.
so too. But yeah, it was just because of so much that was going on. And throughout the whole process, it was hard because I was still going to school and I was still trying to get like, graduate. And then I had that same bout of while I was trying to graduate, I became homeless because my father kicked me out.
Mm,
And it was a bad relationship before that. So it was like a whole bunch of
a
stuff
lot.
after one thing after another that I literally was at my wit's end. And I was
Mhm.
putting all my energy just trying to stay pieced together because I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to graduate. I don't give a shit. And I did. So it was just a lot of things that happened this last year, honestly. And I don't
Mhm.
like thinking about it, but I made it through somehow. And there's just somehow, hi Rita,
Hey, Rita.
hello. I don't know.
No,
It was really hard. And if it hadn't been for my friends and the mentors that I had and everything, I wouldn't have been here and still talking to people and feeling sane.
yeah, I get that too. Um, wow, yeah, that's a lot. I feel like uh, I feel like a lot of us really go through these hard struggles and these different issues and impetuses that really cause us to kind of um break open. They break us and break us open in a sense. And it sucks that it has to be so hard and so painful. um, but the way you're rising into your own grace is it's a beautiful thing. So I'm honored to be part of your journey. Thank you for joining me on my page and on this live today. That's very cool.
Thank you. Yes, it's been great. Thank you. Survive and conquer. Yeah. He says, "Do you know my wife?" She continuously pushes me.
Yeah, we might need to kind of plan a little three-way channeling session or something. We can set up a private group or something. We can make an event, make a thing out of it. That would be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I often enjoy watching those, and I'm often like, yeah, I love when get to work and connect with other channelers and stuff. Um, so while we are still live, if there anybody else who might have questions or thoughts, please feel free to drop a comment. And if anybody would like a quick card pull before we shut down, we're running at an hour and a half now, so I don't want to keep Vaishu for too long. Rita, please, Rita. No, I'm just kidding. um, um,
But yes,
yes,
if you guys
yes.
have, I there are some of you who have questions. There's
Do
no
you still
stupid
hear them?
question. There's no stupid question. There's no easy question. So whatever you feel, however silly you feel your question is, please go ahead and ask.
Yes, please. Um, I think all the questions that have come up today, all the explorations, really offer a lot of useful nuggets. It's funny that you're bringing up Toph because Toph is in the forefront of my mind now. He was a big one that I used to work with when I started exploring. I was reading a lot of texts and watching videos about Toph, and now it's like, oh yeah, I should probably make the effort to connect with Toph again
He
because
says
it's
he's
been a
next
little
to
while.
you right now, and he's saying that like he showed me cards. Like I don't know, maybe like you do talk to him, but when you're like pulling cards, like
I
he does with me.
Yeah, no. What I'm getting is that he talks to me a lot, and I just translate and take credit for it. Is what he's saying. I got you. Okay. Yeah. So he'll be telling me things or teaching me things, and I'm like, oh, I just had a great idea. And he'll say, and he's saying that's what people have done to him throughout history, so he doesn't mind it. He's joking, but yeah. I apologize then. I have to be more careful with my thoughts. um, Let me discern more. Where did that thought come from? Thank you
I
for
really,
all of the brilliant thoughts, though.
I really enjoy Saint Germain, deep connections. I've been meaning to like meditate with Saint Germain. Oh, I don't really have to. Okay, cool.
I love all of my psychic friends, yo. Especially when, yeah, just everybody just starts blurting out things and they're just talking to guides off on the side, like, and it's just like, oh shoot, oh wow, okay, so it's not just me, but it's just so great. It's
But that's
beautiful.
great though, because if you have friends like this, like I suddenly like sometimes when I'm like talking to people and I suddenly say random stuff and they look at me like this and I'm like, they're like, "What do you mean? Where did you hear that from?" I'm like, or like I don't know. I'd be like, call it intuition. They're like, "You're so intuitive," and I'm like, They're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, I just know stuff.
I don't know.
They don't
I
believe in
just know.
psychics. So I'm like,
I don't know. I just know. I know that answer pretty well. How'd you know that? I don't know. I just knew.
yeah.
It's not a can of worms you want to open up with everybody, right? Like,
Oh my god, did they say they do the same thing you do? Oh, do you do that too, Steph? Because I do that half the time. They'll like ask me a question, I'll give my answer. They're like, "Wait, how did you know that?" And I'm like, "I had a feeling, I had a gut feeling." And be like, "Oh, cool." We answer our own questions. Yeah, it helps with that too. So answering your own questions, sometimes when I ask in my head, because I can't talk like this because a lot of people aren't like us, right? So I can't
Mm,
talk like this when I'm by myself. But like when I ask it in my head, sometimes it's not as clear for me. But when I
mm.
ask it out loud like this, the answer is clearer. So sometimes if some of you guys have trouble discerning if it's a yes or no, or you're a little bit confused because you doubt yourself, maybe if no one's around you and you want to ask that question out loud, maybe you're get a more clearer answer, or you feel like the answer is more
Ooh,
clear.
I love that. I love that because I've talk to myself as long as I can remember, and I never understood the value of it. And then eventually I started to come into a place, well, it just helps me to think better. It just helps me to, get some clarity on my own answers. I hear the question out loud and I can answer it like somebody asked the question. And little by little, it's just now coming to me that, this is how spirit was introducing me to talking to spirit. Okay, so that answers that. But point is, like, it's such a value. I think another building block right there, right, is just this the self-talk, and the willingness to engage in those imaginary conversations. They may seem very imaginary at first. They may seem like, maybe they're even emotional. Like, so sometimes I just start talking to myself because I'm in an emotional place, and like, I'm crying and I'm venting to the air because I feel like I have nobody. But then little by little, answers start coming to these questions, and thoughts start rising, and it's a conversation. And next thing you know, you're full on conversing with spirit. You're full on just having this experience. And that is such an important willingness or openness to have when you want to connect, being willing to just explore self-talk, self-conversation, and see where that's taking you.
Hmm.
I'm not saying like walk around like in the streets and just yelling out like you got Tourette's random curse words. Like,
Yeah, no, I just feel like I just whisper. I'd be like, "So, what do I do here?" I like because like when I'm at work and I like sometimes I'll be like, I see certain things on people and stuff. I'm like, what should I do? And they'll be like, "Here, do this or do that." And I'm like, hmm. And also, recently, I like my heart was closed off, and then I've been opening my heart chakra and stuff like that, and that kind of helps me relate. I have to say this for some reason. When I started opening up my heart chakra and doing the heart work, it started making me be more empathetic towards other people and be able to get in touch. Someone's watching that needs to hear this. Gets more in touch with the healing modality and gets in touch with the messages that I'm hearing. So it helps me heal other people, and that's how I connect with people because I was opening my heart chakra as opposed to closing it down from the pain that I had faced.
yeah, yeah, that's the more you're willing to open up any particular chakra, but especially the heart, and explore what's in there, the more you're gonna really tap into some deep shit, some powerful shit. Um, that also goes with like the whole shadow work too, though, right? Because
Mhm.
it feels like even that fear or hesitation to go into the heart space is a little bit of you doing your shadow work to kind of break through that and allow yourself to go there and explore.
I like Nate and stuff. They crack me up. Nate singing "Listen to Your Heart." That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah, but don't be a fool. No, I've literally had spirit give that guidance before, where I was like, I was counseling somebody. I think was it a live, or it might have been a on one, but it was like a very much listen to your heart, this and that, and then all of a sudden spirit came in with the hammer at the end. But don't be a fool. This is not to say like listen to your heart and walk around unbalanced. The idea is to be balanced, so we want to have both the mind and heart together, right? We want to have the male and the female together in balance and harmony, and not just solely in the heart and at the expense of logic in the mind, and not just solely in the mind at the expense of the emotional realm in the heart.
Yeah, it's just a equal balance between giving and receiving. It's like because if an overactive heart space, you'll give too much and you won't learn how to receive. So that's important as well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We're I'm gonna like make a one of those quote posters and and just quote you and just be like, there's a real pretty background, have some nice sparklies, just share it in the story.
As long as there's sparklies in there, that we're okay.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Beautiful. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me, Vaishu. I think we are winding down now. Um, because I know it's getting a little bit late. Well, we're about an hour and a half, hour, a little bit more. So, if there's anybody else or anything else you wanna wrap up with, please let me know. But I will be sharing out your information. This is also being shared to my YouTube page right now. So just so everybody knows, I probably will be going back in and cutting it up because I know Vaishu shared some beautiful things, and I will share your information on my YouTube page for people to be able to find you and hear more of your thoughts and work with you because you're awesome. And
Thank you.
and so yeah, there'll be there. I'll definitely be dropping more from this conversation and this whole experience. But if there's anything else, feel free to drop it. Let us know what's going on with you, Vaishu, if you have anything.
Nope. If no one has any other questions, and by the way, for everyone who's watching, if you'd like to see more videos, there he does have a YouTube page. You can go on there, and he has like videos you can go back and maybe look from and like look and like learn from. So I know some of you have a few questions, and some of his videos will answer your questions. So go and watch those as well.
Thank
And
you.
no, if anyone has no other questions, I am complete.
You are complete. We are complete. Thank you, Vaishu. This was awesome. We're in touch, so now I'm just gonna be bothering you all the time anyway.
Feel free.
but I would definitely love to be able to connect and do this again, do more of these in the future because this was fun.
Thank you. And thank you, Steph, for coming on, and Nate for coming on.
Yes.
You guys are wonderful, and everyone else who came on today. Thank you for coming on. And
Thank you
have a
all for
blessed day.
hanging out. Blessings. Namaste.